All sections of the 4077th be advised. The upcoming MASH retrospective is spoiler positive. Inoculations available at the dispensary. That is all.
Attention! All members of the Time Complex prepare for initiation of Bionic Time Leap.
Temporal synchronization locked. Neurological tether stable.
Theoretically, this will bridge past and present seamlessly. If Cassie's system holds, Dr. Austin's consciousness will remain anchored here.
Vitals optimal. Bionic integration green across the board.
Cassie, prepare for neural synchronization.
Neural synchronization ready. Awaiting your command.
Initiate temporal leap!
He's traveling through the stories that define generations.
Seeking what captured our imagination and shaped our dreams.
Exploring yesterday to illuminate tomorrow, and reminding us all why these moments still matter.
Yourself, or I'm going to come back and kick your butt.
Korea, United Nations troops push on in the cautious advance against the communists. Despite obstacles, United Nations forces drive on to the 38th parallel, border of North Korea.
Welcome, Dr. Austin. Temporal coordinates confirmed. You have arrived in Uijeongbu, South Korea, March 18th, 1975.
1975? Wait, Cassie, check your calibration. This looks like you dropped me into a war zone, not mid-70s Korea.
Temporal coordinates are correct. You are indeed in 1975. Protocol 3 has been engaged, the chronotopical reconciliation procedure. You are currently experiencing a hybrid environment, historically accurate to the artifact's date of release, yet spatially anchored to the artifact's narrative setting.
Oh, right, Protocol 3, the temporal and spatial split. I'm seeing Korea during the war, but I'm really standing here in a place where my memories go to when the Korean War is discussed.
Precisely. This allows emotional resonance to supersede chronological fidelity.
Well, then I'm literally at the 4077th MASH, the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. This is one of television's most unique and enduring shows. It's set during the Korean War, but really it's about the people inside this camp. Surgeons, nurses, support staff, doing everything they can to keep others alive while trying not to fall apart themselves. Each episode mixes sharp, irreverent humor with heartbreaking drama. One minute they're performing emergency surgery in blood-soaked tents. The next they're pulling pranks or debating military policy over mess hall coffee.
Your physiological readings indicate a strong sentimental reaction. This artifact seems particularly resonant for you.
Yep, that's exactly right. Standing here, witnessing it firsthand, I realize this place isn't just about the Korean War. It's a timeless portrayal of humanity under pressure. That's why it resonated deeply with me, and so many others.
Shall we begin cataloging its historical origins?
Okay, sounds good. First of all, MASH didn't start as a television show. It began as a novel called MASH, a novel about 3 Army doctors. It was written in 1968 by a former U.S. Army surgeon named H. Richard Hornberger, under the pseudonym Richard Hooker. It was inspired by his real experiences in the 8055th MASH during the Korean War. The book had a raw, irreverent tone, darkly comic but rooted in truth. These weren't idealized heroes. They were overworked, mischievous, brilliant doctors blowing off steam while trying to keep their sanity intact.
The tone of the novel aligns with post-war disillusionment literature, yet it is not explicitly anti-war.
I don't think Hornberger was trying to make a statement about war being wrong. He just wanted to show what it was like for the surgeons who lived it. Drafted in 1951, fresh out of medical school, he was sent to MASH 8055 along the 38th parallel, the heart of the Korean conflict. Life there was hard. The hospital moved constantly. Surgery was relentless. And Hornberger, he broke protocol by repairing arteries when Army policy forbid it. He did what was right, not what was allowed. That defiant moral core shaped the doctors he later wrote about. It took him 12 years to finish the novel, another 5 to get it published. But when it finally hit shelves in 1968, it landed at just the right time. Americans were exhausted by Vietnam and ready for a different lens on war. Then, in 1970, Robert Altman directed a feature film version of MASH. Hornberger liked the success, but not the reinterpretation. The movie, and especially the TV show, went places he'd never intended. He thought Hawkeye had been reshaped into a mouthpiece for anti-war liberalism. He didn't write an anti-war book. He wrote about survival, not protest.
I will not carry a gun, Frank. I'll carry your books, I'll carry a torch, I'll carry a tune, I'll carry on, carry over, carry forward, carry Grant, dash and carry me back to old Virginia. I'll even Harry carry if you show me how, but I will not carry a gun.
And yet that evolution, what he disliked, is exactly what gave MASH its emotional longevity. It's one of those ironies of legacy. He may not have agreed with what it became, but it resonated with a generation tired of being told to salute and fall in line.
Television in the 1970s had matured enough to handle such subtext, but the film also benefited from a cultural inflection point, the transformation in how war was seen by the American public.
Exactly. The Korean War was sold to the public through patriotic newsreels, quick, curated clips with stirring narration. But Vietnam? That was the first war brought into people's living rooms.
American soldiers hiking their way through the sweaty jungles of South Vietnam, searching for an elusive enemy.
Television news showed body bags, crying children, burning villages, all in real time. It stripped away the illusion. And with the draft pulling young men from every corner of America, opposition surged. That's what made MASH the movie feel so raw and timely. These weren't war movie heroes. They were smartasses in fatigues, trying to cope with horror through laughter, and audiences loved it.
Which led to the television adaptation, greenlit by CBS and first aired in September 1972.
That's right, and while it took some time to find its footing, ratings were rough in the beginning, it eventually became one of the most beloved series of all time. What's fascinating is that the show took what the movie started and gave it even more depth. It wasn't just satire anymore, it had heart.
Previous military comedies such as Hogan's Heroes, Gomer Pyle, McHale's Navy, and Sergeant Bilko prioritized absurdist humor and caricature.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
MASH diverged from that formula.
Exactly. I actually liked those shows, but they were all fluff. Fun, but superficial.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
MASH went for something more. The creative team, led by Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds, wanted to explore the toll war takes on people, and the cast helped elevate it. Instead of a one-note comedy, we got a complex human story. Funny? Absolutely, but also brave enough to show death, moral conflict, and psychological trauma.
A convergence of factors, a culturally disruptive war, an evolving television landscape, and a creative team willing to take risks. The result, cultural longevity.
Well, that's the perfect storm I'm talking about. Without all of those elements aligning, Hornberger's source material, Altman's irreverence, the national mood, and a maturing television medium, we never would have had a show like MASH, and we'd be worse off for it.
Historical records indicate that both the characters and their portrayals by the cast became cultural touchstones, pivotal to the series' success. Shall we proceed to examine this dimension?
Absolutely. And there's really only one place to begin: Hawkeye. In the film, he was played by Donald Sutherland, cool, cynical, and sharp. But when the TV series launched, Alan Alda took the role and turned it into something more personal, more layered. Over 11 seasons, Alda didn't just play Hawkeye, he became him.
Good evening, ladies and germs. I'm sorry I'm late, but my watch stopped. It had to. It's been running fast all week.
Is this the first time you've been pregnant?
Early on, Hawkeye was the snarky rule breaker, the prankster with a scalpel. But as the show matured, so did he. He remained funny, but that edge of humor often masked exhaustion, grief, and frustration. He wasn't a caricature. He was a man unraveling and rebuilding, episode after episode.
Notably, Hawkeye was one of only 2 characters, along with Margaret Houlihan, portrayed by the same actor from the pilot episode all the way through to the final episode in 1983. That kind of continuity helped ground the show emotionally, giving viewers a long-term relationship with the character's growth and emotional arc.
Exactly. Now, if Hawkeye was the heart of the show, then Trapper John was his right arm, at least for the early seasons. In the movie, Trapper was played by Elliot Gould, charming, brash, and naturally subversive. But for the television series, the role went to Wayne Rogers.
Wayne Rogers portrayed Trapper John McIntyre from seasons 1 through 3. His character was a talented surgeon, frequently partnering with Hawkeye in surgical precision and in camp-wide mischief. Their chemistry created a dual lead dynamic that echoed classic buddy comedies.
Trapper was all swagger and wit. He was a prankster, a womanizer, a drinker, very much a match for Hawkeye in style and energy. But he also had a deep loyalty to his friends and a core sense of justice.
Cutting up a nurse is bad enough, but why the hell did he have to louse up my patient?
Ah, come on, Trap, ease off. The guy was terrified out of his skull.
I'll tell that to the kid in bed 6. If I ever get him conscious again.
Unfortunately, Rogers left the show after the 3rd season. Part of it was contractual, but mostly, he felt his character was being overshadowed by Alda's Hawkeye. And honestly, by that point, the show had begun to shift focus more towards Hawkeye's emotional depth. Rogers didn't want to just stick around to be a sidekick.
His departure prompted the arrival of a new character in Season 4, Captain B.J. Honeycutt, portrayed by Mike Farrell.
Captain Pierce, sir. Captain Honeycutt.
I missed Trapper by 10 minutes. 10 lousy minutes.
Captain Pierce?
Hi.
A different kind of friend to Hawkeye.
That's right. BJ wasn't a replacement so much as he was a counterbalance. He was more introspective, more grounded. Unlike Trapper, BJ was married and faithful. But he shared Hawkeye's compassion, his dry humor, and his outrage at the absurdity of war.
Fresh glom, somebody please. All out shot. I beg your pardon?
That's it for the gloves. They're torn, shot, finished. 86.
How can a hospital run out? How can we operate without gloves?
With BJ, the show moved from rebellious antics to more nuanced emotional territory. And Farrell was perfect for it. His quiet strength let Hawkeye be the storm, while he stayed the steady. Until he didn't. Because even BJ cracked sometimes, and when he did, it hit just as hard.
First time my little girl ever called anybody daddy. It wasn't me. I've been gone so long, Hawkeye. A lifetime. Aaron's lifetime.
Now let's move on to leadership, specifically the commanders who tried to manage the organized chaos of the 4077. The first was Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake.
Originally portrayed by Roger Bowen in the film, and later by McLean Stevenson in the television series.
In the movie, Bowen gave Blake a kind of distant, bureaucratic cluelessness. But when Stevenson took the role for TV, he gave Henry a whole new texture. He was affable, overwhelmed, and deeply human.
What's a nug, sir? Oh, a nug is a gun, sir. A 40mm gun.
He often appeared disorganized, yet his presence offered emotional continuity and warmth amidst the volatility of the camp.
Henry wasn't about barking orders. He was about letting his surgeons be who they needed to be to survive. But eventually, McLean Stevenson left the show. He wanted to explore other opportunities, and his departure marked one of the biggest casting changes of the series.
On your feet, soldier. I'm Colonel Potter.
Colonel Sherman T. Potter, portrayed by Harry Morgan from season 4 onward.
Now that was a shift. Potter was regular Army, decorated, structured, deeply respected. But what made him work wasn't just his discipline, it was his humanity.
Morale here is lower than the Gopher's basement, but quicker than that. I expect to see this whole post doing huzzahs and handsprings. Any questions? Fine. Don't forget, I want to see everybody smiling.
Morgan brought a gravitas that balanced the ensemble, but he also infused Potter with warmth, humor, and a quiet wisdom.
Where Blake had been improvisational, Potter was principled, yet both operated with the same core intention: protect their people and make the impossible just a bit more bearable.
And that contrast worked beautifully. Each fit the tone of the series at their respective times. One for the early, looser chapters, the other for the increasingly reflective second half.
Folks around here were awfully fond of Henry Blake when he ran this fort, and believe me, my first days in his shadow were a mite uneasy. Nobody was jumping for joy over me. I was no Henry Blake. Never tried to be. The people here gave me a chance to get comfortable and to make this job Sherman Potter's.
Now let's talk about Antagonists, or at least the closest thing the 4077th had to one in its early years, Major Frank Burns.
Portrayed by Robert Duvall in the film and Larry Linville in the television adaptation.
Frank was the surgeon nobody wanted on their team, but everyone had to tolerate. He was by the book to a fault, overly deferential to authority, and constantly jealous of Hawkeye and Trapper's skills and camaraderie. Linville played him with a perfect mix of bluster and buffoonery. But beneath the surface, Frank wasn't really evil. He was just scared, insecure. He clung to rules because it gave him structure in a world that felt completely unmanageable. And Linville played that note perfectly.
Oh, I'm fine, Mom. No, I'm not. Well, nobody likes me here. You know, as usual. I don't want to talk about it.
Still, over time, Frank became a bit one-dimensional, the butt of jokes and the obstacle to progress.
Larry Linville departed after season 5. He believed he had taken the character as far as he could.
And then came Major Charles Emerson Winchester III. What a pivot. David Ogden Stiers entered the scene in season 6, and suddenly the opposition wasn't a fool, but a formidable, classically trained, Harvard-educated surgeon who could match Hawkeye intellectually and professionally.
Gentlemen, please, pay close attention to this bowel resection. I don't want to have to show it to you twice.
I'm not gonna play second scalpel of this garbanzo for the rest of the war.
Why don't we avoid the Christmas rush and start hating him now?
Where Burns functioned as comic resistance, Winchester became a source of dramatic tension and occasionally reluctant alliance.
Charles didn't oppose Hawkeye and BJ because he was petty. He opposed them because he saw the world differently. But sometimes, especially in moments of real human need, those differences dissolved. And that's when you saw the brilliance of the ensemble.
My father and I have been 12,000 miles apart in the same room.
Yeah.
Where I have a father, you have a dad.
Charles, you never told me anything like this before.
Actually, okay, I've never told you anything before.
And now, to the heart of the camp, Radar O'Reilly.
I'm putting a call into General Hammond at Saul. I hope he sends us two surgeons. We're sure gonna need them.
Portrayed by Gary Berghoff in both the film and television series, the only actor to reprise his role across both formats.
And it's hard to overstate just how essential Radar was to the DNA of the show.
Why, Radar?
Sometimes I can tell what's gonna happen before it happens.
Is that so?
Yes, sir. The officers of the train is to the right, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He represented continuity, routine, and emotional safety for both the characters and the audience. His departure left a palpable gap.
It really did. But that's where Max Klinger stepped in.
Help! Friend or foe?
Corporal Klinger, isn't it?
Right.
Still trying to get out on a psycho, eh, Klinger?
Originally introduced as comic relief, a corporal attempting to secure a Section 8 discharge by wearing women's clothing.
And Jamie Farr nailed that early version. Klinger was outrageous, hilarious, and endearing in his absolute commitment to the bit. But something incredible happened over time. After Radar left, Klinger put away the wardrobe gags and took over as company clerk. And with that shift, his entire character deepened. The man who tried everything to get out of the Army ended up one of its most dependable members.
I'm Father Mulcahy. I'll be your spiritual leader for the next few days.
Now we should take a moment to acknowledge the spiritual center of the 4077th, Father Mulcahy.
Originally portrayed by René Auberjonois in the film and by George Morgan in the television pilot, William Christopher assumed the role for the remainder of the series.
And while the character may not have always taken center stage, his presence was a vital part of the camp's emotional ecosystem.
He operated in a moral space few others did, a man of faith in a world steeped in violence, often questioning how to offer solace when answers felt insufficient.
Exactly. Mulcahy was the quiet conscience of the unit, and William Christopher played him with such restraint and humility, it made every small moment land with real weight.
When the doctors cut into a patient, and it's cold, steam rises from the body, and the doctor will warm himself over the open wound. Could anyone look on that and not feel changed?
And now the last piece of the ensemble puzzle, Major Margaret Houlihan.
This isn't a hospital! It's an insane asylum!
Portrayed by Sally Kellerman in the film and by Loretta Swit throughout the television series.
And there's a reason I saved her for last, Cassie. Of all the characters in MASH, Margaret had the most remarkable evolution. When the show began, she was Hot Lips Houlihan, strict, by the book, often the foil to Hawkeye and Trapper's antics. In those early episodes, she was defined by her military bearing and her relationship with Frank Burns.
An archetype, rigid, authoritative, and emotionally repressed.
Well, you're certainly proving your lack of usual help.
I think HQ would be very interested to learn that this unit is commanded by an inept, incompetent who runs down his chief nurse every chance he gets.
But she didn't stay that way.
Did you ever show me any kind of friendship? Can you imagine what it feels like to walk by this tent and hear you laughing and know I'm not welcome?
We didn't think you'd accept.
Well, you were wrong.
As the series matured, so did Margaret. She broke away from Frank. She demanded respect. She started to define herself not by her rank or her relationships, but by her skill, intelligence, and integrity.
The transformation was gradual and deeply integrated into the narrative structure.
And Loretta Swit made that possible. Her performance was phenomenal, layered, fearless, and empathetic. Margaret felt real, like someone you knew, someone who survived not just the war around her, but the war within herself.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And there's something else we need to talk about, Cassie. Something bigger than any one character. It's the tonal shift. The moment when MASH evolved from clever war comedy into something deeper, more resonant.
Historical pattern analysis confirms a significant transformation in the show's emotional tenor after season 3. Shall we examine the transitional markers?
Let's start with how the show looked. From the very beginning, MASH stood out. It wasn't shot like a traditional sitcom. It was shot like a film. It felt immersive, even cinematic. It wasn't just trying to entertain, it was trying to transport you. And in season 1, there was a moment, the quiet gut punch, that told viewers this wasn't just another comedy. The episode was called Sometimes You Hear the Bullet.
Episode 17, originally aired January 28, 1973.
The plot follows a soldier who's an old friend of Hawkeye's and is writing a book about the war. He ends up mortally wounded. Hawkeye treats him and loses him.
I can't get a pressure. Father Mulcahy, I've lost the pulse.
I'm gonna open the chest. Give me a knife.
Pierce, go help McIntyre.
For the first time, the show let death have the final word. No punchline, no ironic exit, just Hawkeye's shattered and admitting that sometimes you lose.
Critically noted as possibly the first time a network comedy addressed death with such unvarnished honesty.
That moment marked a promise. This show could and would go there. And the show didn't shy away from experimentation either. There were episodes like The Interview, shot in stark black and white as a mock documentary, or Point of View, told entirely through the eyes of a wounded soldier being treated in the camp. It was raw, immersive, and a masterclass in empathy.
A bold departure from traditional episodic formatting. These episodes often received critical acclaim for their innovation and emotional resonance.
And that innovation laid the groundwork for a moment, one I've been circling around since I arrived here. A moment so shocking, so unexpected, that it left viewers in stunned silence. Cassie, I know why I leapt to this date.
Clarify your recognition.
This is Abyssinia, Henry. It's the episode where Colonel Blake is discharged from the Army. He says his goodbyes and leaves the camp. Everyone thinks he's going home. Then, mid-surgery, Radar enters the operating room and breaks the news.
I have a message. Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake's plane was shot down over the Sea of Japan. It spun in. There were no survivors.
No warning, no music, no cut to commercial. Just stunned silence and the surgical team frozen in place. The moment MASH stopped being a sitcom and became something braver.
Historical documentation confirms widespread public reaction. It is regarded as one of the most impactful moments in television history.
Because it wasn't just Henry who left that night. It was the last shred of illusion that war could be funny without consequence. The show changed forever, and this was the pivot point.
The temporal displacement field is in pre-initiation. I have gathered most of the information necessary to conclude this leap, but before I activate the field, I want to understand one outstanding variable. Why did MASH resonate so strongly with Generation X when you were not fighting in Korea or Vietnam?
Fair question.
Good morning, world, it's a brand new day.
I can't speak for every Gen Xer, but I remember how much kids my age talked about the show and responded to its humanity. On a personal note, I was 6 when the show premiered, and a junior in high school when the country said goodbye in 1983. I didn't know anything about triage or war, but I knew the sound of those choppers, and that opening theme song meant my dad and I were about to sit shoulder to shoulder and watch these people trying to be decent in a bad place.
So the series functioned as intergenerational connective tissue?
Exactly. MASH was something my dad and I both connected with, and it helped us to form a bond. In the late 1970s, we had nightly reruns of the early years, while the last seasons unfolded weekly. Gen X didn't need to experience a war. We related to the feelings around adults who didn't always have the answers, and friends who made the mess survivable. MASH is not a war story, it's a life story.
Clarify the father variable. When you say you were shoulder to shoulder, what did that encode?
It was our nightly routine and something to help us bond as father and son. He's been gone a while, but I still feel his presence when I revisit the camp.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. The temporal displacement field remains available when you are ready.
Just this one final thought. I love MASH, and night after night during high school, every visit to the 4077 gave me 30 more minutes with my dad.
If you wanna get happy, then people come along with me. A beep, bow, 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 bow.
I reveal my inmost self unto my God.
Unto my God.
Unto my God.